You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm your host, Angela Smarito, and in studio with me, we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
What's up?
Good to see you, as always, in her BaaD Radio shirt. Always makes me happy when she wears her BaaD shirt. I'm going to get you a couple more. I know I keep saying that, but I'm going to, because Tom's supposed to redo the logo for me, so I'm like, because I'm going to do some hats and some other things.
Oh, I love hats.
Mm-hmm. Up next, we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello, hello. Nice.
Melissa is our co-host as well as our videographer. So if you go to baadradio.com, you can see all of the previous episodes of the show. You can also go to strikingbrand.com to see her other work because she is a photographer as well. Yep. And please welcome Stephanie Bowman to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hello, hello.
Stephanie is the founder of One Heart for Women and Children. So we're going to talk a lot more about what that is, but I'm very, very happy to have you here. I don't know her very well, but the little bit I have met with her, I just, like I said, just already love her.
Just the name of that, I'm like intrigued. I want to know. It's going to be good.
I know. I want to jump into a story. But first, this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun. Don't miss on a Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. So next up, we have the networking news, and this is last week I'm going to do this read. So I forget about it until we get right here.
And you're like, oh yeah, I need to send that.
Yes. So the networking news is brought to you by Symphonic CBD. Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, which are both advocates of Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA organic, lab-tested, non-GMO, made in the USA, and cruelty-free. CBD products are key in making calmness a habit. They also have CBD for our fur babies, and they work wonderfully because I mentioned in previous shows that I use them on our dog, Roxy, because she's getting up there in age, and they've made a huge difference in her calmness. So you can find Symphonic CBD on Instagram at symphonic.cbd, and then also her Facebook page is now growing. I've started to send out some stuff. So I'm teaching Anna. She's my daughter. So my daughter Anna started Symphonic CBD. Is that she's more Instagram savvy and I'm more Facebook savvy. And really, I mean, in the scope of things, when you're trying to grow a business from the ground up, you really got to know Facebook, especially if it's an online business. So, all right. So what do we got for the networking news today?
That's fun. That's appropriate.
That was great.
Okay, this time I have something kind of fun. I have 5 questions that you guys are going to guess the answers to. It all relates to businesses and websites for the most part. Okay. So the first question is, what's the percentage of businesses that have their own website? What would you guess?
I'd say it's 70.
I'd say about 75.
Oh, you guys are so close. It's 64%.
Oh, really? I would have thought it would have been higher. You got to have a website.
I did too. I would think by now everybody would have a website.
Well, what I've been finding out too is some people get a Facebook page and then they think they don't need a website.
That's probably where that 10% that you were thinking.
Yeah.
They're the ones that just have a Facebook page and leave it there. Well, a lot of people go on Facebook too. So.
No. I mean, having a Facebook page is great, but I still feel like you need to have you need to have a website. There's something that builds that credibility.
I think also updating your website. So our website's getting ready to be updated. We're going to have a whole new look to the website.
Nice.
So it'll be a lot simpler to navigate through.
Keeps it fresh so people aren't like bored of it. Yeah, definitely. Okay. What do you think are the top 3 visited websites?
Government agency of sorts?
OnlyFans.
You know what, Melissa? I was like, is
that a website?
This better not be an inappropriate website.
I thought OnlyFans was like a platform, or no, it's a website.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I think it counts.
Is that one of them?
No, it's not one of them.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years.
I would think of some sort of government agency, some sort of like support group.
Do you have a guess?
So I think hospitals or medical questions also.
These are like way more. You guys are getting so detailed. Okay, so the most visited would be Google.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't count that. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have. I would
Right.
didn't
To
count
me,
it in my
that's a
head.
search engine.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. And then the next one would be YouTube, and the next one would be Facebook. So for businesses,
Okay.
Google is number one. That's where the most visited. So you should have a Google My Business page. You should have
Did
one.
you make one for me?
I did.
Okay. Just show me how to get to it.
I did. Also for YouTube. So if you are making reels, make a YouTube page, put them on YouTube as well. It's the second most visited. The
And we
third-
have one now.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And we've got about 28 videos. So we've got a
Nice.
high schooler that's doing that for us.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
getting some great.
Well, it's experience for
exposed-
them, but it's also content for you guys,
Mhm.
which is awesome.
Yep.
And then the third one is Facebook. How we were talking about, you have to know Facebook.
Yes.
For that reason. So if you're a business, these are the top 3 websites. Probably be on all 3 of those. The next one is, do you think that there are any businesses that do not need a website
Oh, goodness gracious.
or don't benefit from one? I guess.
I don't know. I think any business, any and all business can benefit from having a website, even if it's just for information purposes. I'd say no.
Same thing. I think everybody needs at least a landing page
That-
where somebody
yeah.
can look it up and,
Right.
even if it's just your mission statement or what you do.
Right. So people have an idea. That is what I thought as well, and it's for the most part that's the right answer. But they gave a couple like niche things, like if you're a time limited pop up business, then you probably don't need a website if it's something short term like that. But for the most part, yes, you're right, because websites, people can access them 24/7. It just makes you more accessible, and you can get more information if you're not face to face.
Right.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it is.
I wouldn't have thought. All right, I have 2 more.
Okay.
All right. How much can a website boost a business's revenue, would you guess? So the difference between having your own website and not having a website, having that extra visibility, what do you think, like the percentage that would boost your revenue?
Well, it depends on the business and
Mm-hmm.
if they're doing like any sort of e-commerce, but I think having a website could boost your business, again, depending on the field, up to 50%.
I agree. I know that when we got our first website, I say our first, not that we have more than one. When we got our website, we were in the middle of it was a small campaign. Although as we were talking and sharing about it, people immediately could go to it and then donate.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we raised, I think, $42,000 in less than a month.
Oh my God.
But I mean, your website was your biggest asset, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You are actually right on. It's between 30 and 50%
Nice.
to boost your revenue.
Sometimes
So
I'm a businesswoman.
you just
Dang it.
knows it inside and out.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have is, what do you think is the most common extension for a business to use for a website?
What do you mean extension?
.org.
Yeah, like .org, .net, .com.
.com is going to be the most common for a business.
.org.
.org
I was going to
is,
say .org.
.org is either government or charity, right?
I think it's hospital also.
Is it hospital?
Businesses too.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
See, whenever I see a .org, I always think it's a nonprofit or it's a government agency.
I think it's an educational thing for some reason.
Okay.
Or EDU, I guess.
EDU's education.
Yeah.
But so what is it?
It's actually .com.
Is it?
It
Okay.
is. .org is probably the second most, but .com everybody knows it. So in general, if you're giving someone who wants to visit your business website your web address, you'd want it to be .com. It's just,
See, and
people
we-
can remember it
And
easier.
we have a .com, a .net, and a .org.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we
you
bought all
covered,
3.
Yeah.
covered them all.
Just in
Here,
case.
Real Radio is realradio.fm. That's theirs. So that's
That's just a pointer.
yeah. So like I said, I think we're coming up to break.
Oh, I have a bonus question.
Okay,
What? How long do I have to make this bonus question?
About 30 seconds.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Oh, good. What does the .com? What's it short for? Stand for?
I don't know. I don't know.
Me either. I thought it was computer. It's not computer, guys. It's commercial.
Like-
Because yeah,
COM commercial?
Yeah,
I should know that, being in
Yeah.
radio.
it's commercial.
All right, you guys. Well, we're fixing to go to break. And so when we get back from break, we're going to talk more with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children.
You're listening to BaaD Radio on News Radio, WFLA Orlando. We'll be back with more. Stay right there.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. If you're ready for a girls' night out, check out their huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, clubwear, and so much more. We won't pay those high prices because we're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Oh, yeah.
See, there's that .net right there.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
I never really noticed that before.
Yeah.
So there's .net, there's .com,
EDU.
the edu,
.org, .biz.
.biz. Yeah.
Another one.
All right, we're here with Stephanie, and again, Stephanie and I met through social media. I think that she made a comment on an event that I did with my daughter, and we just started chatting back and forth, and then we met in person for the first time at an event called 100 Women Strong.
Okay.
And Stephanie stood up, and there was somebody that was like, we had a speaker, and she got up and she told just a few minutes of her story, and I was blown away. So thank you for being with us today. It was super. I'm very flattered that you're here.
Thank you, and I'm honored that you asked me to be here.
Absolutely. So let's just start with the beginning. I know that's like it's very generalized, but
Right?
we've got about 30 minutes to talk about from the beginning to here.
Right.
So-
I love that. So I want to start by sharing a little bit about growing up, because my mom was she got polio when she was 8 years old, so she was paralyzed from the waist down, and she was the oldest of 8 children. And the reason why I share that is because her not being able to walk never stopped her from anything. Nothing, except walking.
Are you from Florida originally?
No, Indiana.
Okay.
Yep. So my dad was in the Army and traveled quite a bit, and Mom raised 3 children in a wheelchair. I don't know how she did it. I raised children as well, and but not in a wheelchair. And I'll tell you that every single time when I was growing up, when there was an issue, or myself or one of my siblings said, oh my God, we can't do this, Mom would look down at her legs, look back up at us with a whole lot of love and compassion.
And then she'd smack you on the back of the head.
And we're like, oh, okay, we can figure that one out.
Yeah.
And we always found solutions. So when I was 15 years old, something drastic happened, and I was raped and got pregnant and had an abortion. My whole life changed. I veered away from my family. I veered away from everything that I knew.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. I know you're going to say it's not my fault, but it's just I am truly like it hurts my heart when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Statistically, and we'll talk about more of that later, but it's like 1 out of every 5 women. One out of
such
every
a high
5.
percentage.
Absolutely, and more and more, what we're finding is more and more people are as we're healing that trauma. And more people are talking about it.
Right.
And
when before it was kind of like, well, just deal with it kind of thing.
Well, that's what was said. It was, you're going to go to church. You're going to confess your sins. And not that I had any, sins to confess. Well, I'll tell you what I did is I veered away from the youth group. I veered away from my family. I went next door where there was some really dark things happening. And I could tell people, they were having fun. And I walked next door, and that was the first time that I got high. Mm-hmm. And for the next 17 years, I was in and out of addiction.
Mm-hmm. What do you think made you veer away from family and things like that after that? Just
the shame, guilt.
I
felt dirty.
It's hard.
I felt like nobody would believe me. It was a trusted person in our home. Mm-hmm. And when I said something to somebody, what was said is, what was asked is, what was I wearing? And that wasn't a family member, and it was somebody that I trusted. And when that question was asked, like my whole brain switched, and it was okay. So I'm not going to tell anybody about it. What I will say now, because it's been healed, if I would have gone to somebody that I knew loved me unconditionally, that they would have just wrapped their arms around me, said that they were sorry that it happened, and they would have helped me to get the help that I needed, so that could have been healed. Mm-hmm. That's also why I'm a life coach today, because we can get in quickly and connect our heads and our hearts and start healing some of that trauma. So at 15 years old, when that happened, I still graduated from high school, and and had some jobs and had some relationships. But I'll tell you that through all of that, nothing seemed 100%. Nothing seemed really authentic. Nothing felt like I don't think that I was doing the things that I was doing because I wanted to, because I really was staying numb somehow, some way. And if it wasn't drugs or alcohol, it was shopping or sex or, whatever. It was always something. It was trying to fill that hole in my soul that I didn't know how to fill it up. And I didn't know that it was going to be an internal job. So for 17 years in and out of the addiction.
Well, I mean, I understand addiction. So I know that it's when things get tough, it's a lot easier to go to the dark place than it is to stay in the light because you go to the dark place, it's like everybody's kind of down and out and you feel like this sense of welcome because it's
almost more comfortable.
Well, it's not as hard. It's hard. Like when I say it's hard to stay in the light, it's because you have to overcome what were you wearing? You have to overcome like all these different things. But when you go to the dark side, everybody's just like, come on, girl.
Like accepts it.
Yeah,
like
we're
that.
Right.
Have a seat at the bar table, at the bench next to here. Let's have a shot.
And they say misery loves company.
Pretty much.
Yes, you just said it. And what I found is the people that I was hanging out with were people that in my mind, they were either doing things that I was doing or worse. And so it made it for me where people weren't looking at me and judging what I was doing or not doing. And I'll tell you that within that 17 years, I got pregnant a couple more times, had a whole lot of miscarriages. And in my mind, I say a whole lot, 5 miscarriages and pretty much back to back. And I thought that God did something to me, like that was my payback.
Right. Like he was punishing you?
Yeah. So I lived a lot of years that way as well in that 17 years. But I'll tell you that there were always people that were watching out for me, and I didn't realize it until I got clean and sober. So at 32 years old with 2 children, I ended up getting married to my children's father, who also was one of my drug dealers. And I left in the middle of the night when my youngest daughter was 5 months old and my oldest daughter was 6 years old. And, there's a whole lot of trauma and a whole lot of stories in all of that time, which every single bit of that helped me to be the woman that I am today. So I'm really grateful that, that I made it out of a lot of that, or all of it, right? Because not everybody does.
Right. No, they don't.
That's a lot, too.
So when I ended up homeless and I was addicted to drugs. And
when you left.
When I left.
And you had how many?
2 children.
2.
And I'll also share that when I gave birth to both children, I went through some of my pregnancy with both children in addiction. And what happened during my addiction is that, each time I would say, well, I'm doing this, but I'll never do that. And then the progression of the disease of addiction, it was at some point, that I'm never going to do that, ended up being okay.
It just kind of pushed it out.
Crossed the line each time. And so there really were no more boundaries. And so when I found myself homeless, I was running from the domestic violence. My 6-year-old daughter said, Daddy's going to kill you tonight. And I don't know where she heard that. And we left. And when we left, I left with nothing but my children.
I'm glad you took them with you.
Oh, me too.
Because I know a lot of people wouldn't be strong enough to do that.
Yeah. Well, we ended up in an area where my drug addiction ran rapid for the next 5 weeks. But there was an angel that was watching out after us. And I'm so grateful for that because that's part of what we'll talk about here in a couple minutes.
Right. So, okay, I mean, we have 1 minute till break, but what I want to talk about is what does that look like what does it look like to go to a shelter or, what are the options for people that are in your situation? Because I wouldn't even know, but I want to know.
Yeah.
Like I want to understand so that I can help as much as possible. I've never been in that situation. I understand addiction now. I'm 4 years sober.
Yay.
Yep, from alcohol. And so I get it. I understand the dark part of the brain that doesn't get all, you know what I mean? So, all right. So that means we're going to break. And so we got a little deep right here, but I want to go a little bit deeper because this is like touching my soul. So stay tuned. And when we get back, we're going to talk more with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children.
Deep in our souls, we're going to touch coming up. It's BaaD Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small with ForgeITConsulting.com. All right, so we are back with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children, and we're going to continue on the story, talking about, so far we've talked about how she got started, some really tragic stuff. And when we left off, she left in the middle of the night with her 2 kids, so 6 years old and 5 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do then?
So we ended up down in Paramore, Anderson area. And
That's a rough area. What year was this, too?
1999.
That's even, in 1999, that area was
Rough.
Scary town.
Yes. Yes. I will also share, fast forward, that's one of the areas when I first started One Heart for Women and Children. That's the area that we first started serving in, very, very intentionally. So when we were homeless for 5 weeks, 5 short weeks, but long enough to know that nobody in the United States should ever have to live that way. Nobody.
Do you go to, are you allowed to stay inside the shelter with your children? And do they provide you with clothes? And I know that we've donated, there's a Women and Children's on Washington, I think it is. And Anna always wants to give her stuffed animal. Like when we had to purge stuffed animals, that's where they went.
Right.
Because she wanted to actually give them to children. It was really sweet. They write her cards and everything. But do you go there and live? And then
some people do. Most shelters, especially back then, you could go in if you had $3. Most of us didn't have any money, unless we were, asking somebody for money. And even then, that money wouldn't go for shelter for the night. But you have to have back then, it's $7 a night now. So you had to have $3. And when you went in, you could go in and you could have dinner, and you would sleep in a cot in a big room with a lot of other people. And most people were there not necessarily for the right reason. And you would get up the next morning if you slept, and you'd have breakfast, and by 8 o'clock, everybody had to be out the door. So it was not what it is now. I'll say that.
Okay.
It was, for me, I felt safer outside, behind the dumpster, and in the woods.
Are you kidding me?
Yep. And now, again, what I'll say is that there's a lot of things that have changed in the last 24 years.
Right.
Yeah. So there were a couple of us moms with kids, and that's what we did. We slept. We were pretty close to the underpass of Paramore and Anderson, and people were looking for us. My family was looking for us. DCF was looking for us, and they found us after 5 weeks. And they took my children to foster care, and as they were putting me in the vehicle, they said, you have a choice. You have a choice to go to jail, or you have a choice to go to detox, which meant treatment. And I said, I think I'll take the second one.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was a 6-month treatment center. I was there almost 9 months. It took me a little bit longer.
But always go to, who paid for it?
So it was $5 a day. We didn't have to pay for it. So it was government. Most of it was government funded. So it was called Steps in Apopka. And I will tell you, they saved my life. They saved my life. One of the things that as soon as I walked in, I heard something about $5 a day, and I said, I don't have any money. They said, you don't have to worry about it until you get a job. When you get a job, then you'll pay your bill, and you'll also, by then, you will love yourself so much that you're going to want to be able to help others.
So was it the police station that put you in touch with this agency in Apopka?
Nope. I literally was in the vehicle, and I had a choice to go to jail or to detox, and they drove me to detox.
Okay, and that's how you met the people at Apopka.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. So so I went to detox. I was in detox for 10 days, and then they drove me to Steps. So they made that decision on where I was going.
Well,
now,
like I said, you do have an angel then.
Oh, so many angels.
Did they call it an intervention?
They called it yes, they did. Yeah, they did. Before that, I attempted to get clean and sober about 10 times. I went to detox or treatment just enough to get people off my back. And then, so I really wasn't doing it for myself. This time I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. This time I really, really wanted a clear mind. I wanted to be able to, I wanted to love myself. I don't know. I can tell you that I don't feel like I loved myself since I was 15 years old. When I remember one of the counselors said, she lined all of us up. There were 24 of us. She lined us all up in front of mirrors big mirrors, and we're all crying. And she said, and we're crying and not really necessarily looking at ourselves.
Right.
And we were there for 2.5 hours, and I'll never forget that experience, because that 2.5 hours, by the time we were done, all of us, we're saying affirmations, we're smiling, we're crying, we're laughing. It was a big pivot time for me. That was a breaking time for me. So I knew that I was starting to love myself. I was starting to feel something again. So when I graduated from treatment, I got my kids back the day I graduated. The judge gave me full custody of my
Very
kids back.
nice.
Yep.
That's so good that it was immediate.
Oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
And I started diving in and volunteering in different places, and quickly jumped on the board of directors of another women's treatment center.
You had to get your own housing now, though, right? Like you couldn't continue to live there, though, right?
Correct. So my parents let me live with them for 4 years.
Very nice.
So when I graduated, thank you for saying that. When I graduated, my mom and dad said, for the first year, come live with us. You will not have a key to the house. You will have rules. You will have,
It was just because of the trust from
Yeah,
before.
absolutely.
They're so weary.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we do now. I do a lot of interventions, and I also do a lot of help families as the women are graduating from treatment to put a plan together.
And transition.
That's it. Put a plan together. And it's so important to have it in writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can get that. So you had your parents had boundaries for you. Because I know a lot of people that the parents are almost the enablers, and so they don't put these boundaries on their children or their loved ones, and they could continuously be taken advantage of and let down. So I think that the fact that you had these boundaries, and I think the fact that you abided by them were really fantastic.
Was there a history, though, of you ripping off your parents or the deceit and all that? So that's where the trust factor really
Absolutely.
comes in.
And they watched me rip through a lot of other, like I was a hurricane. I
have such a hard time picturing this.
I know.
Don't you?
She's so demure,
I know.
It goes to show that we all have a story, right? We all have a story. And when those angels appear, when we're ready to do something different, the people appear. They're ready to help us through that transition time. So that's part of, when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and ready to do something different, it was like magically. I mean, it wasn't magic, but, that's what it felt like. It was like, wow, I didn't realize you had been there for so long.
I know that overcoming addiction is a lot of hard work, but I know that like there's certain things that I will remember, like my first sober laugh was like a huge, because I had laughed a lot and I had laughed sober, but I mean, when I was going through the thick of like being like in this horrible alcohol cage, I always call it. I call it my cage. When I would get like a break of sobriety and I would get that first sober laugh, it was like, it was one of the best things ever. But it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's internal work, and they said, don't leave until the miracles happen. And what I found is that each time there was another piece of healing, there was another break in what I thought that I could never talk about it. The shame, the guilt, the remorse. And what happened is every time that I met with my sponsor, my mentor, it was just it was like another peel of the onion that came off.
It's therapy for me to tell stories. I have a group I call it Pass the Buzz. It's a sober support group for women, and it's not huge. It's got like 230 something women in it, and I post in there every day, and I post whatever's on my mind, and it relates to people. Sometimes nobody comments, but most of the time people will message me privately because they're not ready to like really go into that. But again, it's not about me. So there's several different things that I want to talk about. We still have we still have two or one more segment. One more. I want to talk about the charity, and I want to talk about the growth of the charity, and I want to talk about what we can do or what are some of the objectives, or what are some of your goals for this upcoming year, how everybody can get in touch with you. I'm trying to think what else, everything that we can do to help that grow. So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about all the stuff that I just rattled off. So stay tuned.
Boy, I hope you wrote that down because I can't remember it. But anyway, when we come back, we'll talk about all of that and maybe more. It's BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. With rainy season here, you should ask about the water sensor so your lawn does not get too much water. If you're buying a home, and this is also good information for realtors, as well, ask about the irrigation system inspection. And don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you're planning an outdoor event or you want to hide those brown spots on the lawn, 407-468-4295. You can also reach them at groundupinc.net. There's another .net.
.net. What are you guys doing?
And see, now I'm going to notice that for all of them. All right, we are talking with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children. So, I can't remember. At the end of last one, we talked about several different things that we want to make sure that we talk about.
The kind of services that you offer is one of them.
Yes,
we can start there.
Let's talk about your charity.
Beautiful. So I started One Heart for Women and Children 15 years ago, and I was 8 years clean and sober when I started it. One of the reasons why I started One Heart is because there were not a lot of services for the women and children where I was homeless, and also for the women where I was in treatment. So when I started One Heart, we just wanted to be able to help share resources. We wanted to find the people and the businesses that had the resources and connect them, bridge them to the people that needed them, whether it was food, clothing,
feminine
furniture.
hygiene.
Yes. And that's a lot of the things that, like, what a lot of people probably don't know is that there's women, girls that cannot go to school because they don't have the feminine products, here in the United States.
Yeah.
So when we started One Heart, it was simple, basic needs. And there was no charge to any of it. We were working in storage units for the first 4 years, and somebody blessed us with a building. So we've been there for almost 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have a community food pantry 4 days a week. We're helping over 20,000 people with food and other services every single month.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Before the pandemic, we were helping about 3,000 people each month. Now we are helping. Yeah, thank you. The pandemic really, the pandemic changed a whole lot. It also changed the way that we serve at One Heart. What we know is that there's a lot of families, as they were losing their businesses or their jobs, or two-income family going down to a one-income family.
Oh, yeah.
They were needing food, the basic need. So we have a lot of partnerships, Trader Joe's and Publix and Walmart and Second Harvest Food Bank, where we're able to get food and helping 20,000 people each month. We go through a lot of food. We are always looking for sponsors to help us with food. We do have a shared cost for a lot of our food.
Okay.
And so our food expense is about $20,000 each month.
Okay. So how does somebody get in touch with you if they want to be a part of One Heart for Women and Children?
You can go to our website, which is oneheartorlando.org. There's a place on the website where you can also ask for a conversation with Stephanie. I also, my telephone number, can I share that on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, is 321-424-0403. You can text or call, and I love to meet people to talk about how we can help each other, because it's about making the relationships. We love when our donors and our partners actually come out and volunteer their time with us as well.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Besides sponsorship, if there are any other ways, so volunteer time.
Next Level Networking is where I got into networking. It's a networking group that didn't make it past COVID, and once a quarter we would go as a networking group. We would go and work. And I worked at Second Harvest before, where we would put together the food that the kids got for the weekend. So because lots of times kids, the only food that they get during the week is the food they get at school.
Yep.
And
Right.
so on weekends or for long holidays, they they have like to go boxes.
Right.
And what I found out too is half the time they have to hide it,
Mhm.
like from their parents, because their parents will eat their food.
Mm.
Isn't that just crazy?
So we partner with College Park Middle School, and we started a pantry there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's student led, which is really amazing because
Yeah,
it
that's
took
beautiful.
Yeah, it took the stigma away, and it wasn't an adult in there. There was really it was peer to peer, and it's beautiful to watch.
So do you do that, like programs like that, where people can come in and because we'll do that. We'll put BaaD Radio. We'll put something together and have people come.
That would be amazing. We also once a month have a mobile food distribution where we have anywhere between 30 and 60,000 pounds of food that's given away in 4 hours. Where we have 100 volunteers, we have a sponsor, always looking for a sponsor, $5,000, and that pays for all the T-shirts and all the moving pieces and parts of that day.
I know Froggers would be interested in talking to you as well. They're one of my main sponsors.
That would be amazing.
And they have, they'll do things time to time where, like during COVID, when people were having a hard time, they gave away free food where it was just like, for a whole afternoon, you'd lined up, and how many people you had in the car, you got a plate for each one of them. And even the owner, George, was out there putting together pulled pork sandwiches for it. And we helped obviously promote it. And there was they did it for 6 hours straight.
That's amazing.
I love it because it's people helping people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the political belief or the, religious belief or any of that. It's people loving people, people helping people. And that's one of our taglines. We just want to get in and help people while they're in a time of need.
And what are some of the things that you're in need of?
So we are at the end of our $1 million capital campaign. We've raised $800,000 in 4.5 months.
You need $200,000.
Yes, we do. And every dollar counts. When people hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. Well, sure, it's a lot of money when you think of all of it at once. But it's not when you start breaking it down and, when people donate $15, $10, $5, $1,000.
What is the $1 million for? Is it
a new building?
Okay.
Yeah. So we have outgrown our space. On Saturday, we have a thrift store. And then during the week, we have our food pantry. But we also have a lot of programs. So we shuffle things room to room at One Heart. And we don't have a lot of air conditioning. Like we have 2 offices that are air conditioned in our pantry, and that's it.
Right.
So we will be able to. We're already working with engineers, and we've got an architect, and so we've already started the planning, but we are so close, and the land has already been purchased.
Okay.
Somebody purchased the land, so we are at the last push there for the dollars so that we can start the build.
And do you have a couple drives coming up, or is this all just organic? Like, we're going to talk about it, we're going to push people to your website, or do you do like drives?
We do. So we also, one of our fundraisers on July 13th, it's called Feed-A-Palooza. And we did one last year. We're doing it each year. And we're raising dollars as we are raising money for One Heart. It's a big giving of food day and other resources. And it'll be at Camping World. It'll be on Thursday, July 13th.
Okay. I'm going to check our calendar.
Yeah,
see if
let's
we
do
can
that.
help out.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the website, there's information about that. One Heart for Women and Children Facebook page also, and on my personal page, which is Stephanie Bowman.
So I think what you're doing is absolutely beautiful. And so that's the new building. And then as far as after that, so, that's just going to be, where is the new building going to be at?
It's on Orange Blossom Trail right off the Silver Star. It's 1.5 miles from where we are right now. So it's still College Park, which is beautiful. Like it's a line, like literally the next street it's not College Park.
Right. I know. I thought Silver Star was farther away. So, like you said, that's going to be July 13th. And then everything else we can drive people to the website.
That'll be great. And also, we've got we're giving away 500 to 1,000 backpacks on August.
Is that going to be for back to school?
August 5th. And then during the summer, we help a lot more families with food. So if anybody very organically wants to start a food drive, hand food drive, always looking for people to do that, especially during the summer.
Yeah. That's, like I said, your story is so inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, literally talk about like dragging yourself out of a dumpster to get to where you are today. It's such a beautiful thing. Give everybody all of your contact information again.
Absolutely.
And you can, like I said, we have about 30 seconds. So
okay. Website is oneheartorlando.org. Phone number 321-424-0403. Email is helponeheart@gmail.com. Facebook, One Heart for Women and Children. Instagram is One Heart Matters.
Beautiful. Love it. And we'll post all of that on our social media as well. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us for this hour. And we are going to be back shortly with the second hour of the show. So please stay tuned.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Whatever. You're listening to BaaD Radio. We'll check the top of the hour news and be back with more networking opportunities for you. BaaDradio.com for more information.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Welcome back as we launch into our second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all the regular info for those of you who have just joined us. I am Angela Smerito, your host, and we've got our producer, Melissa Fox.
What's happening, people?
Up next, we have our co-pilot and videographer, Melissa Jacob.
Hello to all.
And I said her name right this time?
Yep. Got it.
I listened to. Did you listen to the show?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, we were laughing. You're like, you want to record it? And I was like, no, let's just roll
We're
with
going.
it. But it was fun. It made me laugh. But Melissa's business is Striking Brand, and Melissa does all of the videos for BaaD Radio. So if you go to baadradio.com, you can see all the previous episodes. But if you go to strikingbrand.com, you can also see all of Melissa's other work because she is a photographer as well.
All the pretty pictures.
And please join me in welcoming Nasser Weaver.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Yeah.
Glad
We
to be
just found
here.
out that his name's pronounced Nasser.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Spelled Nasser, pronounced Nasir.
Nasir.
Way fancier.
Yeah.
I like it. And he is the president of Homespun Digital.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. So tell us a little bit, what is Homespun Digital?
Yeah, so Homespun is a digital marketing agency, but more so focused on building websites and systems for businesses to help attract and keep customers.
But you were talking, okay, so like you said, you're in BNI,
Yep,
correct?
yep.
How long have you been a part of BNI chapter?
Probably about 6-7 months.
Okay.
Now, about
And
6
that,
months.
and you did a cross chapter referral, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And how
Mhm.
did you two
I
connect?
visited their chapter legacy partners,
Yep,
right?
over in Sanford.
Yep. I
Mhm.
visited over there. And
Is that where Derek was from as well?
Derek was
Okay.
from there as
Yep.
well. Yep.
Mhm.
Derek Brown. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's where I met him, and then I just do one-to-ones with as many people as will accept.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So those who are listening, that is what BNI networking is all about. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that, going to networking events is great. I
Mhm.
do. I'm like, I went to the BNI after hours one that
Mhm.
was on Thursday, and it was great.
What was that like? I've never been to
Yeah.
one.
It was at that really cool building in Winter Park. It's like the Outpost. It's on the corner
Okay.
of 1792. I've always
Oh, okay.
wondered what that building
Yep.
is.
Mhm.
It's like
Um,
lit up at night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
looks
it's an
neat.
older building. The decor is like all right, all antiques and
Yeah.
stuff. So me, I was like looking,
Attracted.
poking to make sure, wondering if this was real brick or
Right?
Yeah.
But it was really cool. But it, like you said, it's one of those things where it's like once so many people get there, it gets loud and you're kind of yelling at each other over it.
Mhm.
So my daughter, she's joining a BNI chapter as well. We
wow.
kind of like just sat down at a table and people kind of sat down with us and then they moved
Right.
on. So I'm like, what? We'll sit down and they'll come.
Kind of like a musical chair
Yeah.
is networking.
Yeah.
But that's the power of networking,
It
is because like she went to a BNI chapter. They met, she connected, and so now here you are.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Live and direct.
Voila.
Yeah.
We invited a previous guest who's never, he's from Mexico to a BNI chapter this morning into Melissa's, and it was his
Yeah.
first time ever being in a group like that. And
How was it?
he was blown away.
Mhm.
Afterwards, he was just standing there kind of in shock, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was so grateful.
Mhm.
He seemed like he really liked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
He's so grateful. So what made you decide to join a BNI group?
So I went to a art tour at the Alfond Inn,
Okay.
like on Park Ave, and I met Dr. J. And you
Oh,
probably know,
Jessica Mitchell.
Yeah.
She, of
Dr.
course,
J.
she hooked you.
Yeah, so like I met Dr. J, and it's like we're like doing this art tour, just going through it, and like I've been to the Alfond before, but
Mhm.
like I just thought they just had just a good interior decorator basically,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't realize that like I guess all the art that's in the Alfond is actually like from Rollins's art collection too, and it's curated and it's rotated. Like I just didn't know that it was that.
I
deep.
didn't know that either.
Yeah, so went there on the tour, and she's like answering like just every question.
Mhm.
Right. So I guess afterwards we kind of like just started talking, and she was like, "Blase blah BNI," and I'm like, "It's tomorrow at 7," and I'm like, "Okay." So
Check it out.
yeah,
I know.
What's
yeah.
about?
So I was like, "Okay," and I just showed up, and I was just hooked.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's the way. Jessica, Dr. J is one of the people that helped grow business at a distance when it first started. So yeah, everybody knows her, and she's a fantastic lady.
Yeah, I believe it.
But how long have you, when you started your business, how long ago was that before you joined BNI? Is it fairly new, or is it, do you come from a corporate background?
No, not from a corporate background. I mean, I do have my IT degree, so I mean, I can just go and get a job, right? But I started my company like back in college, so like it's been about 5 years.
Nice.
So yeah, I just started it from that, and it kind of just kept me out of a regular job. You know, like kind of like once I graduated, I was at a crossroads of, do I want to pursue an actual degree,
9 to 5 type thing, or
which is like the hardest thing ever, right? Because it's like I'm looking on like social media and I'm seeing like all these other people like blowing their tech salaries, and I'm just like, I'm like, you know, I know that I can get that right now too, but I also know that what I'm working for is way beyond that. Yeah.
Well, just so you know, the most people that we interview that are in your situation have come from like the 9 to 5 jobs with that nice fat salary, and they're like, you know what?
Yes,
I'm not doing that. Actually, you came from that kind of a background.
Exactly. And then you're like, you know what? I could do this myself and make my own schedule and build it how I want to build it, and, you know, not have to talk to people who, you know, don't have the same priorities. If you want to make your work really nice and they just want it out there as quick as possible, it's like, no, that's not where I am. That's not my headspace.
That's the thing, you know? And like for me, I was listening to this like Jewish Money podcast, and they were talking about like, it was like Chase's like managing partner or like something like that. Well, one of them, and he manages accounts that are like 10 million plus of assets, right? And he says something that I think a lot of people don't want to hear, but business is a like almost an all or nothing full-time proposition. So yeah, that's kind of what also yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, because when you're managing your own business, you're managing your leads, you're managing, I mean, there's
especially
nothing,
when you start and you don't have like a team or a support, you're doing everything.
There's nothing that you're not managing. How about that when you go on your own? So you gotta start at the beginning. So that's actually really good, because you're figuring out that you have to do, it sounds like you've already learned how to do the business side of it. What were you doing for your leads when you were in school?
So like just like random like just networking. I mean, just things like that. I mean, more so just like bridging those connections. I mean, like even through things like church and just like just meeting people. So I mean, that's kind of how I was able to get those leads. But I think BNI gave me more one-on-one interactions with more business owners, but like in a more casual environment. So I think once I got into it, I was able to really tailor my offers a lot differently, because I had a mirror basically. Yeah.
So is building websites the biggest chunk of your business?
Building websites and offering like software to businesses to help manage their customers and leads. So I think those are kind of the two things, right? I mean, basically like websites and CRMs, those are kind of the two biggest things. And then from there, like unloading like other services like paid ads, social media, like Facebook, all that stuff. Yeah.
We were talking about networking news earlier, and we were talking about the importance of websites. And what was it?
I might have picked it specifically because
yes,
really?
I did. I did. Yeah. I think she said that only 65% of businesses have websites. And then you got to think about this, of that 65%, how many of them are just,
I know,
80%.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Because that's another thing, that it's great to have a website, but if you have a non-functioning website, you might as well not have a website, or one that's not is it optimized? Is that what it's called? Whenever you can use it on your phone,
mobile optimized,
optimization. And like I was getting on some government websites yesterday.
Good luck.
I know. I was on my phone. I'm like, what? It's like this little, and I'm trying to blow it up. Yeah, can you imagine if you got them as a contract?
I think that's where I'm starting to head next.
You think what?
I think government contracting. Yeah, like I think that's like my next horizon after I feel like I've really gotten a good grip on small business. Yeah.
Well, let's do it together, because I work for a media agency, and like I want to work those government contracts as well from the media agency side, because like they get government funds to spend, and I was like, okay,
they do.
You know, spend them with us, so that because we will be able to make that work for you.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, she said we have 1 minute, so we're coming up to about 30 seconds right about now. So, all right. So when we get back, we're going to talk about a couple of things. I'm very interested in talking about. I mean, we understand the website thing, but what I really want to talk about is like these extra services that you talked about.
Of course.
So when we get back, we're going to talk more about that. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio, Sundays 11 to 1, right here on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realtor, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose the one that thinks of you first and not their commission. 407-252-4566. So we are here with Nasser Weaver, president of Homespun Digital. Oh, first and foremost, how did you come up with your name? That's always
a fun question.
Yeah. I had looked through like a bunch of like common like agency names because they're normally like one or two syllables, like, and I just couldn't really find any. So I was just like looking through H's and like just thinking of just the most random words and just like name generations. And then I saw Homespun and I was like, it sounds like it's handcrafted. It's like bespoke. It's it's like high quality. It's homespun.
I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. And it has a lot to do because when we were talking about you building websites, some, people might think, oh, he just like creates the websites, makes it look pretty, and then that's it. But that's not really your deal. Your deal is to focus on making sure that the people who do go to those websites become clients. Exactly.
All right.
So they convert.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the biggest difference, right? Because my ideal clients, they've already bought a website from someone. It just didn't work. It wasn't finished. It just didn't work. It's not converting people. It's not ranking on Google. And I think sometimes I have to remember that, clients don't see it the way I see it, to where sometimes they don't even really know what they don't know, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that like they don't know that people read websites in either a F or a Z pattern, right? So then putting certain elements on those tracks, right? People don't know that they need call to actions and certain amounts of text and things like that to really say, hey, look, we're not just going to build another website. We're going to build the website for your business. That's the best that it can be right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like in radio, I mean, I had a client once that was running a radio campaign and they kept saying to me, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Right. And I'm like, and she's like, I see all these people coming to my website. And I was like,
yep.
Back up.
Boom.
I was like, talk to me about that. And it's like, oh yeah, since we've been running the campaign, we're getting all this traffic to our website, but they're not buying.
And you're like, okay, well, I did my part.
That's exactly what I said.
I did my side.
And I'm like, okay, well then let's just stop the campaign because what's happening is that you're spending money, we're driving people to your site, and then they're not converting. And I was like, so you're wasting your money
Exactly.
because I can't do that for you. I can't make them buy for you. Not in that capacity that I was in as, selling you radio ads.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm like, that's not the radio not working. That's the website not working.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would have been a really good referral to you at the time.
Yeah. I mean, it would have. And I mean, that's the reason why I don't offer like other services to businesses that don't have us build their website for that same reason.
I think that,
because like, it's almost like, like having different contractors like fix a roof, right? Like at some point you just have to just rip it off and start over again.
Yeah.
Instead of patching it every time the hurricane comes, right? So, and that's kind of a situation that I find a lot of small business owners in too, is that they're patching their website. It's broken, it's this and that, and it just needs to just be rehauled and optimized.
I'm trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it.
Basically.
It's pointless. Yeah.
Well, I know that I had a rule that I wouldn't sell ads to somebody that didn't have some sort of web presence, but I never really thought about. Actually, I really didn't really think about the quality of their website until I had that specific issue. Then I got a little bit more strategic. But like I said, when I was working for a company and they were like, okay, you need to sell. Sometimes I was like, all right, this is not a good program because you need to get a new website first. So what are some of the things that you do to help convert? If you want to put together a scenario, we can do that too.
Yeah. So like, let's say like on the front end, someone's about to leave a website, like meaning that like we're able to like track where their cursor is going, like just like putting a pop-up there to like push them to say, hey, look, do you want to schedule that consultation? Or, here's this free upsell or download or bonus or whatever. I mean, just implementing steps like that inside of websites is kind of one thing. And then also on the back end side, more so on the like CRM side, which is like software to help manage your customers and those kind of interactions, like saying that, hey, look, like what happens when someone fills out any kind of contact form, right? Or let's say someone calls your business and you don't answer, right? Like sending a text message to that number from the CRM within 20 seconds, stopping them before they call somebody else.
Like automations.
Right?
And
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah. So things like that are kind of how we drive those conversions.
Like if I were to visit a website and didn't take any action, can you track me and serve me an ad for that website?
If it has a Facebook pixel in it or anything else like that, yeah.
Okay, because I think that would be incredibly advantageous.
Yeah.
Because if somebody goes to a website and they're fixing to do something and they get sidetracked, because I know that I get sidetracked all the time.
Yeah, of course.
And if somebody were to serve me an ad like a day after,
You'd be
I'd
like,
be
"Oh,
like,
yeah."
oh yeah, and then I
Yeah.
would go back and I would finish what I was doing. It's almost like somebody would poke at me and be like, remember that?
Yeah. Oh, I have my daughters. They do that. If they ask me,
yeah.
they ask me to do something, they'll come back like 10 minutes later and be like, "So I was just checking. Where are we on that?" Because they know I get sidetracked too.
But I think that would be a cool thing
Yeah.
to be able to do. Is that called geo targeting? No,
It's just retargeting, I think.
Retargeting.
Yeah, just retargeting. Yeah.
because that would be a really cool service too. And then you were talking about some of the other systems that you sell. Tell me about those.
Yeah, so they mostly like just revolve like around the CRM, right? So like saying that like optimizing different kind of campaigns and like setups. So like let's say like you want to send out like appointment reminders to people, right?
Okay.
Like if you're booking like appointments, if you like have a hair salon or something, like as opposed to you having to manually confirm appointments and rebook them and things like that, like setting up CRM in a way in your business to save you time on tasks like those.
Do you like those?
Yeah.
The reminders?
Yes. When you're talking about when you have an appointment booked and then they send you 100%.
Yeah.
But do you like it when they send you like one every like
Oh no, but
30 minutes?
you can tell them when to do it so it doesn't annoy the crap out of them.
Yep. So like it's all customized, but yeah, the thing about those is people don't like them, and it sounds like you don't, right? But they work. It's the funniest thing ever. But like even in my own business, like booking appointments with clients, like my no-show rate is practically zero. Like because they've been texted and emailed about 2 or 3 times.
Well, I don't like it when it's like you have an appointment in 4 days. You have an appointment in
like
3.5 days.
No.
You have an appointment
No.
3 and 1/3 days.
Because then
And I'm
people
just
are
like,
just
oh
gonna-
my God.
Then people might just block it or something. And
Yeah.
like turn it off.
So sometimes it's a little overkill. But as far as like keeping appointments, yes, it absolutely works good for me as well.
100%.
So that's part of what you offer as like the appointment setting. What about like purchasing? Like do you set up websites so people can actually like buy stuff?
Yeah. So like e-commerce, right?
E-commerce.
Yeah, like 100%. I mean the software that I also use for that, we're able to also sell like on Amazon, eBay, and like some of these other like storefronts using all the same inventory. So that's like another benefit too that sometimes people don't realize is that your website, even if you have a product that you're able to sell on other like sites, we're able to kind of sync them all up and give you like that unified look. Yeah.
Do you work with like a cyber security type person? Do you have a connection with them so that it just helps with like e-commerce sites and things like that?
Yes and no. I mean, it just depends on like who the clients and their needs are, but normally like it's not that much sensitive data going through because the payment processor kind of handles, kind of stuff like that. But
does the client pick the payment processor?
They can, but normally it's like a Stripe, authorized.net or something. It just depends on like what gateways we have, but yeah.
Because I have somebody that I wanted to refer her to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because like like paying your invoice, it keeps doing this thing to me where
The code. I looked it up too. Sorry, this is a side note.
Yeah.
I can't figure out a way. I was just going to change platforms.
Right.
Entirely.
So I have somebody I want to refer you to, and I actually want to send him to you too, because it would be somebody that he's going to be he's coming to my BNI on Thursday.
Yeah.
But from what because I just ran into him at the networking thing, and from what I understand is that it's a software that a lot of companies are using right now, and that it eliminates a lot of the fees. It has a lot of functions that I'm using authorized.net. And so I'm actually going to look at his system as well, because I mean, we're paying a lot of stuff, and if
of
they can
course.
help save me money, then I'm like, I'm all for it.
Mhm.
All right. Sorry, we digress. But when we get back, we're going to continue this conversation with Nasser Weaver. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. For any networking opportunities that might exist, you should probably go to baadradio.com. BAAD radio.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. All right, so we are going to continue our conversation with Nasser Weaver, president of Homespun Digital. And so I think we were talking about point-of-sale systems right now.
Yeah. So we came to the conclusion that we're both talking about the same person now, right?
Curtis.
So Curtis,
Yes. Hello, Curtis.
Yeah.
And yes, you do drive me crazy.
Yeah. Curtis is that dude.
I know.
Yeah. Curtis is serious. And that's why I think like what we've been working on might be a good fit for like a lot of businesses, right? So
can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So like my CRM can take what's called like a NMI key, and his software can write keys for that. So basically, like I can use him as a payment gateway for like booking like appointments, like in my CRM and things like that. So that's kind of one thing that we were talking about, because we kind of discovered after doing some math.
How did you meet Curtis?
I think he actually just came as a guest to my chapter.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then like I know that I'm always looking for other B2B professionals. So as soon as I met him, I was like, I just knew that this is a natural fit if we can connect. Yeah.
But he's got some really high end clients, like his. And what I liked about him, which made me happy, is that he's like already on board with like sending people our way for like interviews, because I was talking to him about storm season's here now, and so I really have been focusing a lot on homeowners safety, hurricane preparedness, and he's like, I've got J.A. Edwards and this and
that's
this,
nice.
and and I'm like, well, thank you for that. You have my attention.
Yeah. But you were saying that you did some math on.
Yeah. So like I don't want to put out any numbers, but if you're a business making okay money and you probably have at least an employee or two, like his service will pay for mine, basically. That's kind of what it is, based on like the revenue that he calculated. So yeah.
So you get the 2-for-1 kind of deal.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, basically, because I mean I forget kind of like all the credit card transactions and fees, and he could better explain it, but I know that effectively someone's paying about 3 to 4% per every card.
I pay 3%. Right? Is that what you pay too?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I know for me, like in my business, like I basically only take ACH for that reason, because like I was like looking at all the credit card payments, and it's like there's so many fees, it's just absolutely just astronomical.
But it makes it so much easier for clients to just put in a card number.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've come to find out that if I have the option to use ACH, I will.
Is it because you know that
it's going to save them money?
Yeah. Is that why?
Yeah.
See, but most people don't think that way.
I know.
Most people are like, just take my card.
Well, actually, there's some companies, iHeart, for instance, that charge the service fee. If you use a credit card, then they tack on 3%, and I don't want to pay 3% more. But that's one way. But yes, I do think I do consider.
You pretty much have to be a business owner to think about that. Like, I want to save you the percentage.
But I would like to be able to offer people that option.
Yeah,
I don't have it that up. I don't think I have it right now.
ACH
with Authorize.net. I don't know if I have the ability. I send them an invoice, and I think that the only way they know how to pay is I don't know. You got an invoice from me. You tell me.
I think it was only card. Yeah, like I don't think I got a ACH option. I mean, I would have done it, but
yeah. How do I do that?
In Authorize.net, I don't know, but I know that Curtis has a ACH solution though. So,
right. Well, he was talking to me about that because that would be fantastic. All right. I'm talking to you more now, Curtis.
Yeah, fair enough.
You soften me up now. It sounds like so far that your business has had a lot of success. So, I mean, are you happy with the direction? Are you looking for like a ton more volume, or are you just like that steady growth?
honestly, I'm gonna sound greedy, but I want that volume.
Do you?
Like,
You're ready. You're ready.
I'm like
he's young. That's why.
every day I wake up, I'm almost like jumping out of my bed. I'm not even joking. Like I just want it. You know?
That's so awesome, though.
And like, sometimes I try and hide it because, I just know that talking like that is polarizing. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you want more
it.
volume, or you want higher end clients? Or
Higher end clients. So that's kind of what I'm leaning to now is like figuring
you said
out.
you just picked up an attorney's office, so that's
Yeah,
pretty. That's how many attorneys do you have?
Right. Well, in that office, there's 3 or 4 partners in that, so that's kind of about the size of that. But attorneys is a market that I think once I get through with kind of what my solution is for them, I think that it's something that I can definitely like scale in that niche. And that's another thing too, is like picking niches. That's kind of also where I think my next move is too, is to, develop kind of the best service for these different industries and then offering it in different regions.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guest on, Allie Mack with Allie Mack Consulting, and she focuses primarily on chiropractors and personal injury attorneys,
Right.
and she does social media marketing and things like that, and that's her hyper focus, and she's built a very successful business just focusing on those categories. So I think that there's a lot to be said, especially because they talk to each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, they do talk to each other. Yeah.
So do you create solutions for individual businesses based off of their needs?
Basically, but it just all like revolves around kind of a few pillars, right? So like the first thing is like the website, right? The second is like resell systems in your business. So like that's like your CRM. And the last thing is reach, right? So like I say there's 3 R's, right? So like first is like reputation, the second is resell, and the last is reach, right? Most people start out at reach, which is like your social media, like just like kind of all the fun stuff that people get to see. But to your point, like about like radio ads, if someone runs a radio ad to a website that's not built to convert, which is the first R, then it's like putting water through a strainer. And then the second R, which is resell, the kind of CRM stuff. Let's say you do get a client from that radio ad, their lifetime value isn't as long because you don't have any systems in your business to resell them. So kind of focusing on those 3 R's in that order, which kind of involves website, CRM, and then your paid ads, social media, and all that in that order, as opposed to flipping it, is kind of where I see businesses getting success at.
I think that's fabulous.
That is
You should write a book about it.
so helpful. I know.
I will.
That's next.
I'm gonna be like copywriting that stuff right now because that's good, and it makes a lot of sense because like lots of people want to get up, start running, and they don't really have the ability to crawl just yet.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, I want to ask you how old you are, but I don't know if that's rude or not.
No, it's not rude. I'm 24.
I know he's baby.
24.
Oh my God! I just heard a Rugrats theme song. Right, right,
Baby.
right. Yeah.
I remember 24. Anyway, but no, I'm very impressed though because because look how far you've come, and then you're just getting started now,
That's the
and
thing.
you have such a good attitude about it. He's calming.
Yeah.
I don't.
Are any of your parents entrepreneurs or?
My dad is. I mean, he worked for Darden and then moved to Red Lobster, but
Gotcha.
I mean, he was in that for probably 20, 30 years. Well, probably almost 30 years. But I mean, he's an accountant now, so like he kind of runs his own firm and things like that. But he didn't really go full time into that until I was like in college, basically.
Oh, gotcha.
And my mom's a nurse, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering, because you're so young and with the whole entrepreneurial spirit, like you'd think there's somebody.
Well,
do you have a friend or a mentor or somebody who was like, this is what you got to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's been people like that in my life, and I think that's what makes me so grateful too, is that like there's people that just really have infused in me a lot of their individual spirits, right? And just, I mean, it's just kind of just, I'm kind of a collection of people that I've met, you know?
You learn from them.
Yeah. So.
You know who's really good at that is Angela.
Is
Angela's from Rito. Yeah, she was talking about brought someone to our BNI, and you have to talk about your business for a minute. And so Eduardo, who came up and did
Mhm.
his little minute. And at the end, she was like, okay, these are the things that I would change about. This is what I would fix. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody who brought a guest and like helped them with their minute and like, what are the things
Oh,
that she
wow.
I was
Okay.
like, that is so helpful. But like sales and stuff, she does the same thing. You kind of learn from everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you. But you know what we're going to talk about when we get back is something that we discussed during a one-on-one, and that's getting him out of his shell. So
Oh, my
that's why
God.
we're here.
It is.
All right. So you guys stay tuned
right.
for more BaaD Radio.
All right, we're going to whip out the pliers and see if we can get this guy cracked open. That's coming up next on BaaD Radio. Stay tuned. Should be fun.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 tanning spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law today at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood, soon to be Castleberry. I want to wish Zach a happy birthday today.
Happy birthday.
I think he's only 25 too. So before break, we were talking about what we were talking with Nasser Weaver, president of Homespun Digital, and he and I had a one-to-one. And one of the things that we discussed is him kind of getting out of his comfort zone and coming on the radio show was one of those things.
Yeah.
But you talk very comfortably about your what you do.
Yeah.
So how is your website?
I think it's pretty good. I need to update some of the work on it because I've had a bunch of projects come out that just aren't on it. But I mean, it basically follows kind of all the core tenets that I talk about, just explaining to people what you do and how to do business with you.
Yeah. Because I think that even in this setting right here is that this is content. So you'll be able to utilize this show for content, and you can get with Melissa and come up with reels, and then you can use that on your social media. You can use that on your website.
Exactly.
So question, if somebody puts reels on their website, does that help with their search engine optimization? I mean, like it's kind of like a blog where it's the more activity or times you change your website, that's how it grows, like how when people search for it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's organic kind of stuff.
It is. I mean, I know like there's different ways of doing it, right? So like I know like Gary Vee like used to have a database of like every video that he's done, like podcasts, and then it's like transcribed like in a blog format, and then that's uploaded.
Wow.
So basically he's making like an entire like, but that's like a years and years old thing, but he probably still does it.
Yeah, I know. Well, BaaD Radio has like it gets updated every 2 weeks with the previous episodes.
Okay.
And so they just take it from YouTube and put the links on there. So I like it though, just because if I want to say you want to see previous episodes, just go to baadradio.com and then click on it. They can watch it there. And if they want to go to the YouTube page, then they can do that as well. So what will you use content for? What are some of the other things that you're thinking about doing about marketing your business?
A lot of reels. That's one thing that I'm thinking about, and also why, of course, I think that this is a good fit for me too. Reels, a lot of like, even like just like lifestyle stuff, right? Because like there's like experiences that I know that like I have every week at places, like just by nature of like just being like an entrepreneur and just meeting people that like other people don't really have, and like when that's put in video form, I know that's also kind of attractive too, right? So I think that's kind of one thing too. But I'm at a point to where like I've never been hooked on social media. So for me, like I don't have the impulse to like really engage on it other than for like a business purpose, right? And like I just know that, like kind of other things in my life, like it's not really for me, it's for other people. Right? Because like I know myself, but you guys don't really know me outside of this podcast and our conversations, right? So kind of, just putting myself out there. Yeah.
I know. I do. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that I call friends that I've never even met in person. That just because we know each other through social media, they might like people that live over like one of my dang Harry Potter groups. You know what I mean? I chat with people in Denmark and whatever. Melissa just drops her head. I can't help it. They're my friends now. But yes, I like Stephanie, the woman you met that came out. Her today was the second time we've ever met in person.
Yeah.
But we've communicated so much through social media that I felt like I already had this connection with her. And I definitely want to do business with her. So I do see a lot of benefits to not putting don't put all your, don't put everything out there, but so people can know and trust you.
Yeah, not just the business side.
Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing too is I can see through people's crap on Facebook too.
Can you?
I can. I know when somebody's like blowing themselves up and they don't have anything to back it.
Right.
I think it's just from the years of experience.
I was going to say the wisdom.
And say what you so, but experience is worth so much. But yeah, sometimes people are just when people do a lot of the walking and talking videos, that's where I'm usually like,
that's like a red flag for you.
Oh yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, the thing about social media too is like everyone's an entrepreneur, but they're really not. You know, like I mean, everyone has a book, a course, a guide, or something that they haven't really done. You know, and I think that like that's also a part of like my own imposter syndrome is feeling like.
Am I one of those?
I just heard that term the other day, and that's where one of them is where you're doing it, but then you think you're faking it.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
I do that all the time. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm the worst salesperson ever, and then I'm like, how can I be the worst salesperson?
You've been doing
I've
this?
been doing it for so long. But what I think is important with you though is your 3 R's thing is really really good, and I'm telling you that from like 20 plus years of experience.
Catchy, something we can like hold on to.
It makes sense, and when you tell people the way that it makes sense, and it makes them understand that you need to put this in place first, and then do this, and then do this. And but it's for you, it's getting the opportunity to talk to them,
of course.
And so that's really what it boils down to is the lead generation, and that's what we can help with.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is just having 15-minute conversations with people, because at that point, after a good 15 minutes of talking, I can just really tell, hey, look, is this a good fit or not? Yeah.
Do you search the internet for websites and just like sit there and be like, make notes of like, this is the one I want to call. Do you just cold call, or do you just do mostly networking?
Mostly networking. I think cold calling is kind of in a weird space because like there's so many other people doing it to where like even like I get cold calls about like my Google listing and my SEO and like my website and this and that
and Yelp and all this.
And I actually had a client get like a letter in the mail talking about like someone was gonna like buy their domain at like auction and like it hadn't even expired yet. And, so people are kind of desensitized, I think, a bit to it, but I still think it works in some capacity. But yeah,
I know, but sometimes when I see something or I see an ad or something like that, so it's just so bad, I'll write it down and I'll call them because I'm smart.
Oh, really?
I do. I don't say that was terrible, but I will call them because I'm like, I got to do some justice. It's got to be, you got to do better than that. So yeah,
that's like when I go to BNI things and people's headshots pop up for the thing. I'm like, I need to talk to them.
Absolutely. But I do think, like I said, that the triple R thing is fantastic. I think that you should definitely run with that and definitely do reels with that.
Okay.
I can see people copying it.
They will.
I
like the way you said that, though.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
They will. Yeah. I mean,
and
I'm used to it.
So, what are you looking for referrals?
I'm looking for small businesses that have at least 1 to 2 employees and they're just focused on growth. Those are the ones that I can really help the most. I mean, ideally, the more employees, the better. So, I mean, someone with about 20, 30, 40, 50 is also kind of great. But I just know that when I get in front of a business owner who's had a website that hasn't been the best and they're starting to grow and they want to really continue to grow their business as fast as it's been growing, they know that their bad website is a bottleneck to any other marketing activities. So kind of like your radio thing too, to where, let's say someone spends $15,000 with you, they're going to blow a lot of that budget, you know? So, yeah.
So you prefer like fixing websites as opposed to like starting scratch?
So I prefer starting from scratch, like completely starting from scratch. It's just too much of a liability, and
because it can be broken in different places and stuff.
I mean, it's just not ever a good thing to like just take over someone else's project. There's normally something broken in it, and if it was so good to begin with, we wouldn't even be talking. So,
that's true. Every time she says stuff in my ear, it's like all of a sudden it goes blank and I can't hear anything.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
at the 1 minute mark. So now's the opportunity. Let's give everybody all your contact information.
Yep. So find me at homespundigital.com. You can just go and just schedule a consultation. Of course, Facebook, Homespun Digital, Instagram, the same tagline and things like that. But yeah, basically just go on the website and just take a look around and learn more about what we do. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome.
Wonderful. And you can find me at strikingbrand.com and on all social media platforms at strikingbrand.
And I am Angela. Thank you so much for spending our Sunday with us. Come join us next week for some more BaaD Radio.